and welcome to the ViteConf community and contributors panel. I'm so excited to be here today. My name is Tracy. You can follow me on Twitter at LadyLeet. I am your host, and I have four amazing panelists here today. So first off, we have Sarah. For those of you who all don't know Sarah is actually the docs lead and a core maintainer. She's also a technical writer for Astro, and most importantly, a bird photographer. So do you see like new birds outside of your window, or is it always the same ones?
Well, outside my window, usually the same ones. They know us, we know them, we feed them. But when I travel, birding is a great activity because everywhere you go, it doesn't matter if it's city, urban, there's birds. So it's an easy, exciting hobby to take with you wherever you go. Oh,
that's really fun. I was watching something on the internet, of course. Thank you, internet. And this pigeon decided to live on this guy's head. Have you all seen that? And he just decided to let it live there forever.
Oh my goodness. I had not seen that.
You can find a lot of crazy stories. Just be careful about crows. Crows recognize people and hold grudges. Ooh. So there's your tip today.
Okay, so like really because I'm careful around crows, but now I know that was actually a good thing because I just I don't want to bug you, but that's actually good to kind of avoid them.
Isn't that the scary bird movie about crows? Like one of the scary movies where they attack you is like the crows are attacking. I think
all the birds are attacking you and birds. Anyways, well, that's really cool. So
that escalated quickly.
Definitely follow Sarah on all the social medias or find her. If you have questions about birds, submit an issue on GitHub. Just kidding. But and then we also have Brittney. Brittney is one of the most passionate community builders I know. She's the founder of Svelte Sirens. Thank you for all the amazing work you do there. A Svelte ambassador and also a staff engineer of design systems at, I'm going to say it wrong, but Provi.
That's right.
Whoa, amazing. Yes, thank you, Brittney, so much for being here. And, have to admire your lovely earrings, of course. So.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here. And thank you for admiring my earrings. I love them. My mom made them. I know we were talking a little bit about them, but she loves making things with her Cricut. And I don't know, she cut it out with the Cricut, but they're fun. And I have to get her to make all the swag for me. I'm not wearing my Svelte Siren stuff today, but I have Svelte stuff. I have Svelte Siren stuff. She's made me cups. She's made all kinds of stuff. I love it.
Once you get the Cricut out, it's it is easy to do, right? But the problem is for me, it's oh my gosh, I have to get it out and I procrastinate. But then the actual making, it takes 5 minutes. You can make a shirt in 5 minutes, no problem.
Yeah. But my mom just moved and she had to actually make a spot where she's this has to stay out now. So she has a desk where it just stays out because that was the thing. Getting it out and the stuff was too time consuming. So yeah.
Yes. Well, moving on to Anthony. Anthony is amazing at open source. Anthony, your name literally always pops up everywhere we go. Anthony did this. Anthony did that. Anthony did this. He wrote this. So for those of you who don't know Anthony, he's a core team member of Vite, Next, and Vue, and he's the creator of VTest, SlideV, VueUse, Uno CSS, and Elk. Did I say any of them wrong?
Of course, slide it.
Oh, slide it? Okay.
No problem.
And you're working at Next Labs, which is pretty cool too.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes. And I'm sure these aren't all the projects you do. Those are just the ones that have become popular. So I like to call my GitHub a graveyard of unfinished repos.
We're probably not even all the popular ones that he's been a part of.
Yeah, you can only fit so much in a few lines. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Anthony, for being here. And then Matias, aka Patek, who is a Vite core team member. and a VTest and ELK team member as well. And you've been working at StackBlitz for at least 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so working at StackBlitz, doing open source work full time for the ecosystem, which is amazing. It's always great when companies can actually sponsor. Actually, I think all of your companies pretty much unless Brittney, I don't know if Provi sponsors your work or not, but
I mean, they don't sponsor any of the open source work, but they do support me doing open source work. So that's nice to have a company that allows me to do open source work and provide back to the community. But yeah.
Yes. It's fortunate because not all of us are so lucky. So kudos to you all. And getting into the panel questions, since this is the community/contributors panel. I love this question because I think a lot of people try to get into the community or try to become contributors, right? They're trying, and how do you do it? How do you encourage community members right now to become contributors? What's the first step, or what do you encourage them to do, or what are some of the initiatives that y'all might be hosting?
Well, I'll start and I'll say it sounds simple, but we ask them. So when we notice people in our Discord, mostly I'm concerned with the docs and our community support, but the number of people who will come in and say, oh, maybe this should be in the docs. That's my opportunity to jump in and say, oh, would you like to file an issue for the docs? Would you like to make a PR to the docs? Sometimes people just don't know until you ask them. So that's my first thought is I will jump if I see anyone who has identified a need, a contribution that's missing. Ask them, see what happens.
That's actually a great point. Yeah. If people are willing to file an issue and bring up something that is actually a need in the community, then they're probably willing to go ahead and make a PR. They may not just be aware that that's existing. Other ways, I know Svelte, this year we did our first hackathon. That was a way that we brought in lots of contributions and open source projects into the community that we hadn't had before. And that may not be directly contributing to Svelte, but it was contributing to the Svelte ecosystem. So it wasn't directly to the code base, but we were still bringing lots of projects to the ecosystem itself.
Nice. One thing that I saw before joining the panel, I was checking the contributors to all the projects that we are part of, and it's amazing. Almost all of them are above 600 or something like that. And to your point, Sarah, that your advice seemed to be working fine because in the Astro docs there are even more contributors than to the Astro main project. That is amazing. I think that you have 650 contributors or something like that to the docs. That is amazing.
That's impressive.
We do have an impressive number of docs contributors. I don't think we outweigh total Astro contributors because I think we're just over about 3,100 now. But we do make an effort to wrangle them in. And in docs in particular, sometimes we create participatory and long-standing issues. One thing we always want to know in docs is how is our search widget working? If you type in React or Tailwind into the docs search site, are you being taken to reasonable places? So we actually have some long-standing issues that are hey, got some time? Try searching a word and report what you get. Did you get taken to the pages you'd expect to be taken to? And because docs changes over time, this issue doesn't have to close. So when people are looking for how to get involved and maybe they're not familiar with GitHub or the whole PR system or even filing issues, we have these tasks just at the ready that we can point people to that are pretty non-threatening and allow them to start participating that way.
Yeah. Using labeling the good first issues, those things are really good. Having templates set up for your PR so that people know how to actually file a PR. Having your documentation in your README file so they know how to clone and get everything set up locally, how to run the test. Everything like that helps somebody contribute to your system too.
Yeah, I can relate that a lot. So I think that personal invitation is a very good way for people to get involved. So me and Matias, we were having two projects, VTest and ELK, that initially we were doing a little bit like private beta, and we invite people that who are like interested in, and like to give them access to the repo, and while it's still in like working in progress. And it turns out that at that time it's like you got a very good engagement, and actually I think that a few of them stay and become the core team. And currently, like we have a leader of VTest that during that period, which I think is amazing.
Yeah. One thing there that is very interesting is that particular time, everybody in the community is like an engaged contributor. So it is like really, really interesting time. And later on, as the community scale, I think that for example, maybe like in the Svelte Discord or in the Astro Discord, like you are doing, like for what I saw, a better job. But in the Vite Discord, for example, there is so many new users, but so many new users that a lot of, like, if you check in the discussion channel, it is like mostly questions now. And it really changed the vibe of the Discord. And mostly the contributors are coming from like the GitHub, for example, right now. That like there we encourage a lot of people to, for example, like something that people will like to do to become contributors is doing PRs like right away, and there are like so many ways to help that are not doing a PR. For example, like doing triaging is so helpful for maintainers. Like if you just go to GitHub issues and check them out and like find like if that is really an issue or not, like 80% of the open issues maybe are not. So that is already so helpful. And
yeah, actually,
so it is
like commenting back on issues too, like setting up REPLs, like doing those kinds of things, like testing those issues that are up there and commenting back on them, I think is helpful too.
Yeah, we even have a label for our issues that needs confirmation. So there's your invitation right there. Just tell us yes or no, this is happening to you too. And in Astro in particular, we've made a real push over the last year or so to give reviewers GitHub credit as well. So we have this, our maintainers have this entire complicated system. And I think people are working on automating this so that people who have given really helpful review comments in a PR, we make sure to manually add them as co-authors to the PR. So what happens is they show up as in our little congratulations message when things are posted automatically in our Discord, but they also get, contribution squares. We have Astro badges, and we have specific badges for number of PRs reviewed, not just filed, because we have a lot of PRs that are open right now. We could really use people to go through, add comments, let us know before we get to the point of merging. And in particular, because Astro does a lot of translations of our docs, this is where we need reviewers more than anything else, because we don't all necessarily have the native capacity in these languages to review more than a Google Translate check and a make sure nothing kind of seems off. So we ask for reviews all the time. And then you don't have to know how to file a PR or file an issue. So the friction's a little lower for reviews too, but they are so valuable.
Yeah, especially with Hacktoberfest going on right now. I mean, they come in like crazy, which is a good thing. Like we want people to contribute to the communities, but we need those reviews, comments. We need help maintaining as well.
I wonder though if this year Hacktoberfest there will be less contributors because there's no shirts.
But like, do we need this?
No shirt.
They're planting a tree for you. It's all good. Still good.
I think the top 4 FAQ questions are all, why am I not getting a shirt? Really? I'm not getting a shirt. My company makes shirts. So shirts may be a thing, But I know one concern of Hacktoberfest is getting these drive-by PRs that maybe don't lead to, longer standing contributors in your community anyway. So, but now it's up to us maintainers to just be super on top of these contributions that we get, because these are people who are doing it even not for a shirt.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Even it kind of like weeds out the quality, right? Like, I'm not doing it just to get a shirt, but I'm like doing it because I care about the community. And yeah, no, I think that's amazing. And do you all like host hackathons at all or anything like that where you get new contributors?
Svelte did the first one earlier this year. And like I said, it was great for the ecosystem. We did like a month long, or maybe it was 2 months, where we gave the community 2 months to create a project. And we had 3 categories, and then we did the top 5 in each category, and the top 3 of each category got a prize. We just got sponsors for that. And like I said, it was amazing for the ecosystem. We got so many new, fresh projects and things for the ecosystem. It was huge.
Yeah.
One question there, like how much work it was to, like, because there were so many submitted projects, no? Like, to actually like go through all of them and like grade them, and like this is something that we talked it with Anthony. Like Anthony was saying several times, hey, let's do a hackathon of the whole community, and maybe like in the Vite kind of point of view, it could be like cross framework, and I don't know, like it could be really nice.
So
but
what
like,
we did is we
work?
had a spreadsheet. Kevin kept track of everything. He had a spreadsheet, and then we had maybe 10 to 15 of us. And over the last week of the hackathon, we reviewed the spreadsheet, and everybody like took a chunk of it and went through it. And we had a grading system on the spreadsheet. And then if it had like suspicious commits, we would like put like a red mark on it, like don't look at this one. And so then once we got down to like enough that was like reviewable, on that last day, we went back and reviewed everything. And then we had like enough to get the reviews. And I think we had 200, there were 250, something like that were submitted.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Node does that. Node has this thing called like contributor days. And it's usually done like a day before a conference, like the big Node conference. I think now it's the JavaScript conference that they do. But it takes so much time, right, for contributors to just create all the issues and figure out how to structure it in a way to get, hundreds of people in a room and hundreds of initial commits, and then going and reviewing all of those after and getting them actually merged is like a lot of work, right? But I mean, it's, again, kudos to you all who care about the community and care about fostering new people, because that's really, that's where people come up. Speaking of communities, what strategies can we kind of implement generally to create a more inclusive and supportive environment within our developer communities? What have you all done, or do you have any suggestions or advice for people as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we have to have some policies, like we have to have the moderation and the enforcement there. But I think that having the engagement and making sure that you are on top of things in your community, with making sure that people feel safe. That's one thing that we've tried to take care of. We have a Spelt Sirens channel that we make sure that everyone is welcome there, but we're going to make sure that you're protected and that there's moderation and enforcement, not just in that channel, but in the Spelt Discord in total. So I think that education and awareness, making sure that people know what is okay to say, what is not okay to do. Having that, I think Sarah spoke to like the badges and some of the things that they do when you get PRs, but that kind of thing, like the recognition and that helps with the inclusivity for people. And that's not something that's about making just women or non-binary people feel more inclusive and welcome. That's making your community feel more inclusive and welcome. Like, you can recognize and celebrate your community by giving them things like the swag. Like, it's silly, but like, people like the swag, people like badges, people like that little stuff. And it kind of seems silly to us, but they love it. So, I mean, just little things, like, people appreciate that. And making sure that people are safe, I think, is the big thing for me, and making sure that everyone feels welcome and no one is excluded.
I mean, your mom could make 100 svelte earrings. She could. It wouldn't take her that long, I promise you. I could probably do it too, but I don't have my stuff laid out like your mom, so that should be a Hacktoberfest thing.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Open source the swag t-shirts.
I mean, thank you, Brittney, for saying that too, right? Like, it's not just about, women and underrepresented folks, but it's about making everyone feel welcome because, especially, I think, like Vite, for example, right? And Svelte, I think so as well, right? But it's like, it's such a big global community, right? Like, I mean, when compared to, well, okay, I'm not going to compare because, I probably should. Generally, y'all have a very big global community, and there's so many different personalities and so many different cultures and so many different ways of interacting. And, I really feel safe and at home in some of these communities that you all represent, which is, again, kudos to say that y'all are doing a great job.
And that is, as Brittney said, the little things really do matter. It's one thing to have a code of conduct. It's one thing to have governance laws, which most of us do, and most of us can enforce in these, really severe or egregious situations. But what if someone comes in and is just being annoying? What if someone is inadvertently making the room uncomfortable? These are some of the most challenging things that we have to deal with because these cases of excluding people aren't always super obvious. So as maintainers of a project, we constantly have to be on guard for cultural differences. Differences in how you might address other people. And the second that we notice something, we, as uncomfortable it is, in Astra, we step up and we say, hey, that wasn't a super friendly welcoming to someone new here in the community. It's hard and it's awkward, but that is part of our responsibility. And it does make all the difference, because for every one person who might bring forward something to your attention, there could be 10 or 20 other people who are seeing it and feeling it, but are just made uncomfortable, but don't know whether they should bring something up. So from the top down, we have to set a great example of a good, inclusive community.
Those lurkers will get you every time too. There are people always lurking in your communities that you are not aware of. And those lurkers are the people that are probably some of the most supportive that you don't really know about. They will just hide in the background, not say anything publicly, but they really love the community. But then they'll see something that makes them uncomfortable and that will turn them off, and they will be done. And you have to be really careful and just shut down any negativity and any bad stuff that is going on, no matter what it is and who it's happening to. You just have to be really careful.
But it's also promoting good habits too. So one thing we've started to do is make these little messages and we'll post them semi-regularly. Hey, if your question could be answered by anyone, don't mention someone in particular. It looks like maybe it's a private conversation or other people. If somebody is adding a core maintainer, asking a question, is anyone else necessarily going to feel comfortable jumping in and answering? So these little messages that we add about good habits too can really help the community flowing, because we say, look, we want everybody to feel comfortable participating. If it's just a tech question, anybody can answer it. Don't address it to a person in particular, and let them enjoy their weekend, things like that too.
I love that. And I love the idea of, just even, by all y'all encouraging and by other people taking leads, right? Like by, a junior developer reviewing Anthony's code, let's say, as an example, like, and, Anthony being like, oh, thank you for this, or making suggestions or anything like that. It's like, oh, I can do that too, and it's like, oh, and, I know you talk to, people like, Anthony, for example, and it's like, yes, of course, please do that. We need reviewers. But actually seeing it in action, I think is like, oh, you weren't kidding. I can actually do that. What about like, accessible learning resources? What are you all doing in that front, or what advice do you have for people?
I think that making sure, any documentation, any site that you present has accessible learning resources, but anything that you put on the web should have accessible and inclusive language. I'm not sure if there's much that I can really add to that other than just making sure that you're covering your bases when it comes to being accessible to everything from screen readers to color contrast to just covering all of your accessible, inclusive bases there.
It's hard, but also encouraging the community to get involved and let us know when they notice something that isn't working right, like a color contrast in our docs site, that file an issue. That's another way to get them involved. We try really carefully in our introductory Astro tutorial, where we try to show you, oh, if you add this style tag, then the heading color will change. It's trying the most you can to add little inclusive, like if you can't perceive the color change, you can go into DevTools and inspect, and you should be able to see that the color of this element has changed. So we're really trying to think outside our own experience. And this is one thing we do in docs when we write our instructions. We have a policy not to use the word we, because I, the docs writer, am not sitting with you as you are working. We are not kind of in this together. You are struggling. And when you stop saying we, you get out of your own situation as well. When you address your reader as you, then it's not about your keyboard or your setup or your operating system. It really forces you to think, what might this person have? What assumptions might I be making about my setup or my background? So even in docs, this is something that we take super seriously because docs is a static resource that has to work for everybody. And it's not always easy. So we try to give ourselves little rules like this that hopefully will nudge us in the right direction.
Yeah, that's a very good tip. Thank you. Now I need to rewrite all my docs.
Weekend project.
It could be a call to action for more people to get involved and help us in
all
the million projects. Docs is a...
So if you are watching, just check the doc.
Get involved. Get involved.
Send PRs.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your help.
Just
create a whole like docs team for Vite, for example. Like I think that one thing is that we don't have a dedicated team for docs, and that kind of shows. Like at one point, like Vite will grow, like continue to grow, and that will be needed, I think.
That is so hard. Yeah, if you don't have a dedicated person for docs and you're trying to juggle as you go along, that's difficult. I did want to add just one thing before we move on from the inclusive and supportive environment. I think that regular meetups really do help for that because they are a way to get more people involved. So it's a way to bring in people that might be from less, somebody help me out.
Maybe people who are like not as tied to the community.
Well, not as tied to the community, but also just people that are not as not active in the community, but people that aren't
on Twitter.
no, like I mean, we're like in tech, we're mostly men. So people that are not mostly men.
Okay,
what I'm trying to say.
Underrepresented folks. Like
underrepresented. That is the words that I was trying to think of, and I am like losing my mind. Sorry, I know we're coming up on time. So I think that is a good way to bring in underrepresented people, is to have regular meetups, because if you have that, especially under like the Spelt Sirens banner, and we're a very welcoming, and I put that right up on the site, that they will see that and hopefully recognize that this is a place for them. And I don't exclude anyone, so everyone is welcome to come, but they see that we have regular meetups and they will come eventually. And it just draws more people in that are underrepresented.
Nice.
It is really amazing to see how much of an impact community has, So, I've gone to so many local meetups, and, I'll run into people who say, well, before I go to a woman in tech, before I go to a meetup, I always check to see if there's other women coming. And I've never thought of that. I would never do that because I just go, but, there's people out there who need, people who look like them to feel welcome. I remember speaking at like this big, I don't know, they were in suits. Okay. All these people in suits. And first off, I was like, oh God, I have to go to this thing. Okay, I'm excited, I guess, to talk about it. But, walking around, I just, kind of didn't know anybody, didn't feel included, and then just kind of left. Yeah. So, in any and all communities, right? Like we can feel comfortable in one and not comfortable in another. I think language wise as well, if I moved to Greece, I'd be scared to go to an event, but hopefully I'd find somebody that I know who speaks English that like wouldn't scare me.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to find someone that you can connect with. And that doesn't always have to be like the same gender or whatever, but it's just, it's finding that connection and feeling like safe and included.
Yes. Really good point. Which, by the way, going back to the docs thing, RxJS, I'm on the RxJS core team. We needed docs and it was a pain. So I just mentioned it at conferences and I said I was creating a docs team, and all I did was spin up an empty repo, and, everybody else took it over and it was amazing. Right. So like, I think, for Vite who needs a docs team, just saying it, even in this venue or in the upcoming conferences, goes to say a lot in collecting people. I'm good at collecting people. So I helped lead that initiative. And it was great. I would do it for you all, but
that's a good CTA. Yeah. One thing with the docs of Vite in particular that I think that they are more like towards the builders in the ecosystem, like doing plugins and like more towards like all the frameworks building on top of Vite than final users. And maybe like Vite is at that point where it needs a revamp to actually focus more on users. And maybe that could help with all the questions, let's say, that we have in Discord. Yeah. That is also like, to go back to the other thing, is like, I didn't say it in a bad way, that there is a lot of questions, like more also in a CTA kind of like, like get involved and came and help us, because that also is so valuable. Like just helping each other in Discord, it means a lot for the community.
Yeah. I think Mark Erickson from that we all know and love from the Redux team, now at Replay, he said that the way he got onto the Redux team was he was just answering all these questions in Stack Overflow and on GitHub, and then he just compiled all those answers, and then he just, I don't remember if he like just stuck them onto the docs, but it's like, okay, you compile all these questions, and then all of a sudden, like that becomes like the origination of your doc story in a sense. So
yeah, and that's how I started getting involved with Astro. Was I had a lot of time to sit and answer questions. I mean, a year or 2 years ago, Astro was really new and there weren't many resources. And there were lots of people coming in who were more experienced developers than I was, but I knew how Astro worked. So I didn't have to have their level of experience in tech or in the industry to be able to say, these are the two parts of an Astro file, and this is how they interact. And in Astro, we take support super seriously. We have our support squad role. We have support patrol and extra role, who are doing some amazing initiatives right now to help sort of wrangle all the support questions we do get in Discord. And we have Astro Core maintainers who have very few, if any, maybe none, contributions to the Astro repos, but have been so instrumental in shaping our support system and in helping others. We rewrote our governance laws last year. It used to be, in order to achieve core maintainer status, you had to contribute so much to the code base, and we removed it. We just said you have to contribute to Astro. So we are thrilled that we have steering our ship people who aren't necessarily even making a lot of code contributions, but who are on the ground and who are answering our community's questions. And they can help inform docs, inform dev of what is working, what isn't working, what we need more resources around, what was a crappy name, and maybe we should change this because nobody seems to get it. They are the people who know that and can bring that to us. So investing in people who might choose to just always live in support has worked really well for us.
I think Vue had, I forgot what they're called. Vue, it's not partners, but like Sarah Drasner for a long time was a Vue something. It's like you're not on the core team, you're something else.
We have ambassadors in Svelte. I don't know what you called them.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
That's like community partners, maybe, or something like that.
I don't know. Anthony, you're not going to help me out here? I can't remember the name.
And Next has an ambassador as well. And
Yeah.
I think Vue has a community partner in the
maybe
in the
it's
team
community
page.
partners. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So community partners, I think, is a great way to do that. But I mean, you know, Sarah, you bring up a really good point, right? Like, you don't have to do code contributions to necessarily like be a valuable team member to the community. So I always find myself in core teams or in teams in general as like the peacemaker or like the coordinator or the like, let's take it down a notch. So, well, thank you all for joining. Y'all are just such a wealth of information. And I think, you know, again, if anybody is looking to contribute to the community or get started, it really isn't that scary. And thankfully, you can kind of slide into these folks' DMs or Discords or create an issue on GitHub, and, you know, people are nice. Nobody will bite. And, you know, just get started. And, you know, honestly, that's like the best feeling, right? Just like, I still remember, you know, a few weeks into my development career, somebody saying, hey, you want to speak at a conference? And I was like, what do you mean? What can I provide, you know? And I mean, it was just a catalyst for me to just get involved and just like, you know, the world is so big, especially with the internet these days. So thank you again, everyone, for joining, and we'll see you all next time. And thanks for attending this panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.